Florida Gators are working to get back into the top 3 before National Signing Day. And this weekend, they got some big dogs on campus. The staff is also playing a little defense with 5-star safety Xavier Phillips. Now, the UF coaches will be in Texas either tomorrow or Saturday to visit with them and try to shut down the Longhorns' advances. Now, we're going to cover all that today with the great Corey Bender of Gators Online. But first, UF fans, do me a favor. Hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. Look at this. We're almost to 30K. We need your help to get there, so please hit subscribe for me. All right, let's bring on Corey Bender from Gators Online. Now, I want to talk, before we get into this weekend's big visit weekend, I want to talk about Amaris Williams. And last week, Keith Niebuhr of Gators Online put out a story that made it sound like Amaris Williams was all but going to flip to Ohio State, maybe even Tennessee. But it seems like things have calmed down and the Gators got a hold of things. Does UF have the momentum back in their side?
I would say right now, I wouldn't say they have the full-on momentum, but they definitely feel better than where they have felt in the last couple of weeks. I would say right now, Auburn is probably Florida's biggest threat right now. Ohio State's still in the picture, but people have looked at this as recruitment. Is it NIL-driven, which I know that will be a factor. Relationships are obviously a huge thing too, and Florida has that in their favor. I think the X factor could be, Josh. I mean, Georgia's linked to a possible OV on December 15th. That's right before signing day. So that's something you always have to look at, especially for a team like Georgia. But Florida definitely feels better than what they felt in recent weeks. They're there on Tuesday. Multiple coaches were there for an in-home. And then Mike Pearson, who would be his positional coach at Florida, he was there last week. So Florida knows they have a battle in their hands. They're obviously going to visit them as much as they can. They have 3 visits before signing day. But I would say Florida right now, I would say they definitely feel a little bit better. I wouldn't say they feel like they're going to definitely hold on, but I would call it almost like a 50-50 shot right now with Florida with 50% of the shot. And then you have Auburn and Ohio State kind of battling out too.
Yeah, it seemed dire about a week ago, but now it seems like things have solidified at least a little bit there with that recruitment. Now, I want to talk to you about
recruiting in 2023.
I know. It is never ending. Even when you think it's solid, you never really know. Yep. So we're going to talk about Xavier Phillips, and this kind of goes down that road a little bit as well. 5-star safety from Texas. He's been committed to UF since April. But it feels like it's been trending to Texas the last couple of weeks. But tomorrow, maybe tomorrow or Saturday, I should say, the UF staff will visit the number 2 ranked safety in the country. How important is that in-home visit for the Gators' chances at keeping Phillips on that commit list?
It's extremely important, Josh. And, that official visit to Texas is for next weekend, too. So, Austin Armstrong was in last week. Actually, this past weekend, I think it was last Saturday. Yeah. And then they're going to visit him again, like you said, Friday or Saturday. And from what I've heard, they're going to save that meeting with Billy Napier for next week, more than likely. And that'll be right before he obviously goes to Texas for the official visit. And I think right now it's mostly a coin flip for me. I know, obviously, the kid loves Florida. It was his favorite school growing up. He has family ties to the Orlando area where his mother still lives. So, Florida, given where everything is and Corey Raymond being dismissed, you would look at his recruitment and then seeing Florida's success in the field. You would think, man, this guy, he's definitely going to decommit. It really shows where his heart is with Florida. So I think it's not going to be easy to flip him, but it's probably 50-50 right now. One note that Keith Niebuhr did put on the board that he learned is his mother lives in Orlando. She'll be in Austin for that OV as well. So that's obviously another little important thing. So both parents will be there. Right now, I think it's truly a coin flip. I don't even think Xavier knows where he wants to go. So I think that in-home and obviously that official visit in Austin is going to be a huge factor.
And also, how important do you think a timely DB hire is? Because it kind of seemed like Xavier Phillips' recruitment loosened up when Corey Raymond was let go. So could a DB hire, if it's made in a timely fashion, keep him away from that OV to Texas in a week?
It could. It really could. I mean, I would assume by this weekend, there's a few candidates for the D-line job and the DB's coach job. We feel a little bit more confident where everything stands in the DB's coach job. So I think by this weekend, hopefully they'll have a hire in place and he'll more than likely be on the road. Maybe even this Saturday. If their hire's in place, maybe they send him obviously this Saturday and maybe they come see him again next week with that new DB's coach. But there's always that chance. I think right now he's almost trying to find a reason to stay with Florida. That's kind of the way I read it right now. And, Texas is clicking on all cylinders on the field. Recruiting's going well. So when you're a 5-star prospect like that, you have to look at it as more of a business decision, especially nowadays. So I know the kid definitely has a difficult decision to make regardless of where his heart is. But I think that DB's coach hire is going to play a huge role in where he ultimately lands.
Yeah, I think if they could make a DB hire this weekend and then roll him out to Texas for an in-home visit with their family the following week, that might be enough to keep him out of Austin for that official visit. All right, speaking of official visits, it is a big weekend in Gainesville. We teased it at the top. Here's who's going to be there. Cornerback Xavier Phillips, who's committed to Alabama. Safety Gregory Smith from in-state Riverview High School. Jaden Ball, an Arkansas running back commitment. And a big defensive lineman from Blinn Community College, Brian Taylor. All right, Corey, Xavier Phillips. We felt like this one was fading, but he's showing up in Gainesville for this official visit. How do you feel right now about UF's chances in flipping Grimsley? Inside Scoop fans, I got to tell you about something that has changed my fall football season for the better, and that's HelloFresh. I've been trying HelloFresh recently, even as recently as last night, and I have no idea why I waited so long. With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip the trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. And let's face it, we're busy during the fall. You guys know the routine. You work all week and then you watch football all weekend. A busy fall schedule doesn't always leave you time to go to the grocery store. And with HelloFresh, you don't need to spend all evening in the kitchen to whip up a wholesome meal. With their quick and easy recipes and 15-minute meals, you can get a tasty dinner on the table in less time than it takes to get takeout or delivery. It's also cheaper. A new season calls for new meals, and HelloFresh has a fresh fall lineup of delicious dinners and more to choose from. Take your pick from 40 weekly recipes that suit your lifestyle, from veggie to family-friendly to fit and wholesome. This week, I was in the kitchen chefing it up like I do. And when I get home from work, the last thing I want to do is really go to the grocery store. All the ingredients, they were right there at my doorstep. I didn't have to buy. I didn't have to wait in line. I didn't have to throw out all the extras that you always have. And anything I cook is delicious. But I got to tell you, HelloFresh makes it so easy and so fast. I don't know if I'll be going back to the grocery store anytime soon. So here's what I need you guys to do. Go to HelloFresh.com/50 Josh Newberg and use code 50 Josh Newberg for 50% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh, I have no idea why I waited so long.
Right now, I'd probably say it's probably a 70-30 in favor of Alabama. I know with him, he was kind of disappointed with Florida's season. You could tell he was really hoping for more. It almost kind of give him a reason to give Florida a stronger look throughout the season, but obviously the results weren't there. I think right now, with this official visit, it's going to be everything. When he went for the FSU game, that was his first game inside the swamp. And even though Florida lost, he still was, taken aback by the atmosphere, his whole experience. And this weekend, he'll be able to sit down and spend an extended amount of time with the staff. But, with having Corey Raymond out there, that was his main contact. They spoke every day. So Florida it was definitely kind of a gut punch, when they lost him as far as where they stood with him. But, Billy Napier is still actively recruiting him. Austin Armstrong, the defensive coordinator, is supposed to visit him today. So Florida's the only school that has a shot at flipping him. Is it going to be easy? Absolutely not. But they have it set up where they get the last OV, and they're going to see him next week too. So it's. I think right now Alabama feels really good, but I wouldn't close the door on Florida's chances just yet.
All right. Now we'll move on to another DB, Gregory Smith from Riverview down there in Sumner, Florida. And he kind of flew under the radar for much of the season, but his recruitment is starting to blow up. Can UF close this weekend? Because I know they got a good shot at him, and you don't want other programs coming in. Is this one that they could close on this weekend?
I think so, Josh. He announced his commitment date. It's not far from now. I think it's the 13th. Right. I believe so. Next week. It could be. It'd be one of those situations too. Florida might say, "Hey, we have other DBs on the board too, but we want you. Can you jump on board now to solidify it?" So I think with a kid like that who's kind of hasn't really experienced the recruiting process, maybe like some others, could kind of get persuaded like that in campus and say, "Hey, this is where I want to go. I'm just going to do it now." So I think right now he's probably one of the most likely additions in this class. And like you said, Josh, 6'4", he's a fellow under the radar. Plays a lot of quarterback too, so he's kind of like overall an athlete. But I spoke to a source close to the program who they raved about this kid's long-term potential. They think he's a kid that can even outplay his 4-star ranking where he is now. So I know the staff is extremely high in him, and he's a kid they'll take regardless of who's on the board.
All right, now we move on to running back Jaden Ball. There's been a lot of talk on him on Gator message boards about a potential flip from Arkansas. What are we feeling coming into this official visit, and who's the biggest competition for Ball?
I would say it's Florida and Arkansas. And I think right now the relationships at Arkansas are very strong. Coach Smith, one of the assistant coaches at Arkansas, that's obviously a big deal. He's been committed since May, Ball has. So he's been obviously up to their campus a bunch of times. The relationships are strong. Both teams obviously didn't have the best season on the field, so neither program could really sell that as far as saying like, hey, where the program sits on what we showed on the field. I think it's going to come down to relationships and obviously the opportunity to play. And, from what we've heard at Gators Online, he's been tracking, Trevor Etienne. I know he's linked to possibly go in the portal. Maybe that has a final impact as far as where that depth chart is at Florida, makes it a little bit more intriguing. But I think right now you go into this visit this weekend, I give probably 55% Arkansas, and obviously the 45% to Florida. It's close, though. It's very close. Jabbar Jalute, the running backs coach at Florida, that relationship is very strong. He calls him very genuine, like a father-type figure. So I think this weekend he's going to have a lot to think about, and I think it's going to be very close. But if he stayed with Arkansas or flipped, neither one would surprise me. It's that close.
Hey, you're giving a close edge to Arkansas before the visit. So maybe by the time the visit's over, the Gators are the ones with the slight edge. We'll see how that one shakes out coming out of the visit. One more prospect we have to talk about, defensive lineman Brian Taylor from Blinn Community College. Only a 3-star, but the way these defensive linemen are coming off the board, there's just not many of them out there, and his recruitment is blowing up. What are you hearing in terms of him and the Gators?
Yeah, I think Florida right now, they're probably the number 2 school right now. Georgia was the leader after the OV in Athens. And when I spoke to him after his time at Florida for the Florida State game, he didn't say Georgia was the leader. He said obviously they're up there, but Florida was right there too, and they made a move. All sources kind of indicate that, Georgia has they plan on signing a big defensive line class this cycle, and he's one of those guys that, hey, whoever jumps in, they still want that guy, a junior college guy who can play before the others. So he's still even though, Georgia flipped Nazir Johnson from Florida, this is a guy they still want. So I still give the edge to Georgia a little bit. And obviously with Florida not having a D-line coach, that's another X factor. But on Monday, Austin Armstrong, the DC, and Callie James, who's a defensive line assistant, they saw him on Friday. And when I spoke to Brian yesterday, it didn't seem like the 4-year Sean Spencer doesn't have too much of an effect on his recruitment. So I think this weekend there's a lot of questions that need to be answered about Florida and his projected fit with them. And it should come down to this weekend, though.
Well, like I said, a big visit weekend in Gainesville. Gator fans, let me know. Comment section below. You have anybody on commit watch? How do you think they do this weekend? Let us know. Comment section below. All right, Corey Bender, thank you for dropping by the Inside Scoop. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, Josh.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that content, be sure to subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We have a new page dedicated only to recruiting. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now.